Good morning to all of you. I hope I am audible to you. Am I audible clearly? Ready for the test today? So I'm not going to take test now. First we are going to study about the rest of our parts. So we basically started with the unit 1.3, and in the unit 1.3 we are done with the first part, socioculture anthropology. You know already in the like syllabus there are three other parts also: biological anthropology, archaeological anthropology, and linguistic anthropology. So these three parts are also there. So in today's class first we are going to cover them. So they are not huge in terms of the quantity or in terms of the syllabus. So first we are going to complete that, and then there is going to be your live answer writing, your test. Okay, so I hope you are ready for the test. Maybe this is basically going to be your first test, so you must be feeling anxiety, you must be feeling I'm not prepared. See, you just need to break the glass. You just need to handle today's discomfort of not writing or the kind of fear. Okay, so just have it. Based upon the today's answer, I'm not going to judge you. Even I'm not going to judge you further also after your other your subsequent answers. So in today's class we are going to take it so light. I'm not going to give you difficult question today. I will be giving you very simple straightforward question. Later on, with the passage of the classes, with the passage of the time, I'm going to improve the version. Okay, I hope you can understand. Fine. Okay, so now let's basically start with the same. So we are starting with this part. Okay, so the first part we are going to take here is the biological anthropology. You know very well that in the biological anthropology, we are going to talk about the human being specifically. See, in the socioculture anthropology also we were talking about the human being. We were saying that human being, they are not considered in terms of the isolation, like the man is a kind of a social animal. So we were doing those aspects. So that was also revolving around the human being itself. But in the biological anthropology, here we are specifically going to talk about the human anatomy. So here we must be talking about the human genetics. We must be talking about the human variations, the gene variation, the genetic marker. So these are going to be the parameter for today's class. Now, when we were talking about the biological anthropology, we are basically going to interested about the studies of biological evolution and biological variation. Fine. So here we are basically taking about two things. But before that, we just need to do the introduction. So now let's first write down the introduction. So when we are basically talking about the biological anthropology, we are basically talking about the human being, and we consider human being as a living organism. So basically anthropology means what? See, anthropology means the study of humankind. And when we are talking about study of human being, that study of human being we are taking upon by considering human as a biological organism or a living organism. So human means we are studying about the living organism. We are studying about the living organism. When we are studying about the living organism, we are continuously trying to find out the differences between the biological traits. See, we just wanted to know why the people in the Africa, they are having, see, there are so many desert in the Australia. Australia is also a deserty area that is surrounded by the desert. Africa, that is also a deserty area. Then we just wanted to understand if in a hot dry region, people, they tend to have the dark complexion. Like, try to understand, in India southern area, people, they are having a dark complexion. Why? Because the climate of that area is like that. So we just wanted to understand the reason behind it, that why having the same conditions, deserty area, dry area, hot area, in the Africa, people are tend to have the dark complexion, whereas the people who are living in the Australia, deserty area surrounded by the desert, having the island type of lifestyle, coastal region, having the proximity with the brackish water, why the people who are living in the Australia, they are not having the dark complexion, why they are tall in the height, and why they are having a fairer complexion. These are the kind of reasons we wanted to understand. I mean, what's the reason behind it? So that's why we consider them as a living organism. See, now try to understand. Let us suppose I'm talking about this board. So this board is going to have homogeneity or uniformity in terms of the material that is being used. So it must be using some plastic, it must be using some steel, some tungsten, some sort of wiring. Everything is going to be same. In terms of quality, maybe some may add upon the chip, and they may add upon the memory card, or they may specify the color or something like that. But in the anatomical structure, the formula to prepare this is going to be same, and more or less each and every digital board will work the same. Why? Because the principle for the non-living organism, it used to be uniform, but for a living organism it cannot be uniform, and therefore we just wanted to understand the biological traits. We just wanted to understand the biological traits. So, in terms of the biological traits that we are taking upon here, we are focusing upon the evolutionary as well as the biological aspect of human being. So, from this point of view, you have understood that in the biological anthropology, we are studying about the human being, considering them a living organism to understand their biological traits. What I'm saying? We are taking upon anthropology to study the humankind, considering them a living organism to understand their biological traits. This is the basic introduction. Done? Okay, now write down. I'm dictating, write down. Biological anthropology. Biological anthropology studies human beings, as biological organism, as biological organism to explores human evolution, to explores human evolution, comma, biological variation, and how humans adapt to different environments, how humans adapt to different environments, societies, societies and cultures over time and cultures over time and space. Cultures over time and space. Okay. Now, when we are trying to understand when we are trying to understand the biological anthropology, so we can understand it with the help of three perspectives. So now try to understand the biology. Here what we are trying to do is, first we are done with the introduction. After the introduction we are adding upon extra information. This extra information you can transform to start any question. Means the basic introduction is not to write as intro for any answer. That introduction I provided to you is the introduction for the topic, so that you, when you will revise, you will remember this is what I need to study for this topic. So this is not for answer. Now the thing which I am providing is, it may be used as introduction for any answer, depends upon the demand of the question. Okay. Okay, so now we are basically talking about having some sort of perspective. Like if we are trying to study about the anthropology, how we are going to deal with that. So for that we are having three anthropological perspective. First perspective, that is going to study about the evolutionary perspective, like how anthropology it evolved. Second is the biocultural perspective, and the third is adaptionist perspective. So first let's write down evolutionary perspective. In the evolutionary perspective we are trying to understand how the human being they basically evolved, like how they evolved over a period of time. Second, we are basically going to take up on is the biocultural perspective. And the third one is adaptionary, means how human being used to adapt over a period of time. So that is going to be adaptionary perspective. These are the one which we are going to take upon. Okay. Now, Hanji, frame along with me. I hope you are done with this part. Hanji, uh, are you done with the are you done with the first slide? Now write along with me the second slide, the evolutionary perspective. So in the evolutionary perspective we are going to take upon, okay, this is what you need to tell me. See, when we were doing the origin and development of anthropology, I provided you two perspective. Like there were debate how the anthropology evolved. So there were there were a debate between the two points. Hanji, just tell me, related to the unit 1.1 you are done with. Fast tell me, there are two views for the development of anthropology. What are those? Very good, Grace. Darwinism versus colonialism. Okay, now Grace, tell me Darwinism, about the Darwinism. Okay, how he specified and what was his views? Andy, tell me, what do we mean by the word Darwinism and what he did or he provided about the Darwin? Anthropology, okay, according to them, they were giving the views that anthropology is the child of Darwin. Very good, very good. Okay, again, the evolutionary perspective is taking inspiration from the Charles Darwin and his theory on the origin of species. So in his theory on the origin of species, he basically provided about that how the species, they are having the better chances to survive, how the natural selection used to work, how the genetic drift used to work, how the migration they used to affect the genes spread. So these are the kind of thing we are trying to understand under the evolutionary perspective. So let's write down based upon Charles Darwin, based upon Charles Darwin theory of evolution to explain natural selection, means why one type of gene is having more chance for survival, about the genetic drift, about the gene flow, about the genetic migration. Okay, so this is what we basically trying to understand about the evolutionary perspective here. In terms of example, see, as I told you now, write down example with a red color pen. Okay, see, the Africans, they are having more lactose tolerance. And why they are having lactose tolerance? Because the Africans, they uh, in the very beginning time period, they were pastoral by nature, and they were having a habit uh, to for the domestication of the animals. And because they are domesticating the animals, so for sure they are dependent upon the animals for their needs. So from the very beginning, milk was added upon in their diet. And when I'm talking about milk, so milk from different varieties, not from the cow or the, like, not basically from the cattle, but they were also exploring the other they were also taking the milk from the goat, they were also taking it from the camel, they were also taking it from the pig. So there were different views. So in last, what I can say is the Africans, they are having the more lactose tolerance. And why so? Because over a period of time, as their evolution is there, because of the rate of the survival, they started depending upon the food product being provided by the domestication of animals. And that's why over a period of time they developed it. Fine, so we can here write down the lactose tolerance among Africans. Okay, so write down this. Now, next that we used to study is about the biological perspective. So this biological perspective, this was given by the Paul T. Baker. So Paul T. Baker, he said that anthropology means studying, and that study is based upon the interaction between what? Interaction between the biology, interaction between the culture, interaction between the environment. So biology, culture, environment, these three, they are basically being studied with the various perspectives. Fine. So let's write down Paul T. Baker, and as per him, studying biological perspective to understand the biology, the culture, and the environment. And we are basically studying the relationship between these two. So bioculture is this, that you are trying to understand that how, based upon the culture, the people in one area, they are having different habits, they are having a different perspective from the other. So this is what we are basically having. Like now, biologically, for example, just tell me, how would you find out the tribal people? So if I'm asking you, create an image of a tribal people, what would you be having in that image? Okay, explain me. Anji, explain me, how would you specify a tribal people? Anji, explain me. If you have to explain the image of a tribal people, how would you explain it? Okay, just like let me give you hint. Would you explain it like they are the chubby one, they are the one having a belly fat, or they are the one which are seems to be wealthy? How would you explain them? Can you tell me, how would you explain them? Having who are basically affected from the hunger, they are not having many sources for the nutrition, so they are the one who's affected from the poverty. So because of all these reasons, so tribal people, they remains malnutrition. So that's what we are going to understand about the biological or biocultural perspective. Means we are trying to understand, if someone seems to be the one, what are the reason behind it? Okay, so here write down the example. Okay. Next one is the Areva. Grace is telling me other dimensions, ornaments, hairstyle, dressing, decoration. Yes, that's also part of there. But I was talking about their biological, I mean, not about their appearance. But it's okay, very good, you answered. So, next is adaptationary perspective. So, in the adaptationary perspective, in this perspective, we are going to talk about the human being, and we are going to take up on the human adaptation biologically and culturally related to their diverse ecological setting. Means ecologically, people living in different area, they will have a different pattern, biologically also, culturally also. Remember, in the previous class I explained you, I had shown to you the Inuits, and those Inuits of Arctic, Eskimos, they were having a separate dressing style. They were living in the igloo, so they are trying to adapt to the extreme environment in which they are living. So that's what we are having here. In the adaptationary perspective, we are basically going to take the biological and cultural ecological setting. So here we are going to take upon biological and cultural setting. This is what we are going to take upon as part of adaptationary perspective. Means biological or cultural, from this perspective, how they are adapting to the environment. So here, like you would say, ma'am, the same adaptation is written here. See, here the adaptation is biologically in terms of their body. Here the adaptation is culturally also. So that is basically adaptive perspective. So in this adaptive perspective, we are going to take upon the high altitude adaptation in the Himalayas. Like in terms of example, we are going to write down here, like as a perspective, we are going to write down setting in the Himalayas, like the high altitude Himalayas. Fine. So this is what we are having. I hope you are done with this part. You were writing it down along with me. And you done? Shall we proceed further? Okay. So next point in terms of a heading that we are going to take upon is origin and development. origin and development. So in terms of origin and development, we are trying to study that how and biological anthropology it evolved. So there are basically two perspectives. One is specified as classical development and one is specified as a modern development. So let's write down classical development perspective. Remember, I provided you four types of kind of examples, four types of ways you can start with the introduction. So one of the way was the origin and development. So this is what I'm providing you. In some types of the question, you it would be better to write down origin and development. Fine. So classical development and modern development. Okay. In terms of the classical development, there was one anthropologist, and his name was the S.L. Washburn. So S.L. Washburn in the 1952 in his book The New Physical Anthropology. So S.L. Washburn in the 1952 in his book The New World of the Anthropology, he specified that the classical development was the time period which was before the World War II. So you know very well that the World War II, the time period was 1939 to 1945. So before the 1945, before the World War II, the anthropology was considered as biological anthropology specifically considered as one of the stream which is talking about the racial element. It is talking about the measurement, the racial measurement. So here let's explain classical development. Okay, before that, here write down the book name and the anthropologist name. S.L. Washburn, and the book name is New Physical Anthropology. And the year in which he provided this, it was 1952. Before that, under the classical development part, like you can write down, that is before World War II. So before World War II, they are saying that in terms of the classical development, as they were specifying, focus was on focus was on racial measurements and and physical features. See, races are defined based upon the physical features. Like Indians, they are considered as the black people, and this is being used as a slang language. During the independence war, during that time period, many of the people they went to the England, and there they find out that all the Indians they are being called as the black people, and they were doing the discrimination. So during that time period, the physical feature, the skin color, the facial features, they are categorized, and then we used to find out the racial measurement, and that's what earlier we specifying in terms of the biological anthropology. But in the modern development after the World War II, after the World War II, they are basically emphasizing the evolutionary theories, the genetics, and the adaptation. Then we started explaining about the genetics, means why there is a difference in the gene. Like if there is the people who are living in the coastal region, they are black, then why they are black? So then the area of study, the area of purpose, it turn into different from the racial measurement to the biological theory. the biological theory, and along with the biological theory based upon the human genetics, based upon the human genetics and adaptation. This is what we started having related to the origin and development of the anthropology. And I hope you can easily understand the classical development and the modern development. So that's what we are done with the origin and the basic development. Fine. Now, when I'm talking about the adaptation, this part, so the adaptation is demonstrating, like the study of the adaptation is demonstrating how the gene, culture, and environment interact. Means why there are challenges which are related to the views of the human biology or the view of the human biology, which is basically helping us to understand about the genomic studies, which is helping us to identify the unique perspective. So helping us to define the unique perspective. Here we can provide the example, uh, like the basic example of the Himalayan peoples. So the Himalayan peoples living in the high altitude area, they used to have their chest area bigger in the size, and they also having their head size bigger. So this is one of the adaptation differences that we can find out. Okay, so this is what we are having in terms of the SL Washburn. Hope you can understand. Are you done? Okay, now we are done with this part. Next, moving forward, the perspective, the scope of the biological anthropology. So then write down the heading, scope of biological anthropology. Scope of biological anthropology. Now, biological anthropology in terms of scope means what are the kind of thing we are going to cover under this. So one by one we are going to take upon. The first thing we are going to take upon here is about the human evolution. So the human evolution is also called as the paleontology. Paleontology means the kind of study which is going to talk about the evolution, not the variation, but only the evolution. So here we can also write down in the bracket paleontology. Okay, so here we are going to take upon the paleontology. Now, paleontology means what? Paleontology is basically focusing on reconstructing the human evolution, and we are trying to reconstruct the human evolution through the study of the fossils and the ancient biological remains. So here we are going to considering the geological date, the ancient time period, the environmental changes. Fine. So let's write down here the environmental changes. The gene flow, adaptation, now what we are going to take upon here in terms of example, see, you would find out that if you will compare the chimpanzee with the human being, so you would find out 99% of the chimpanzee gene, they are having matching with the human being. So now you would say, ma'am, only 1% difference, so we should look like them. See, we are having 50% DNA matching with our parents, still we are not looking completely similar, but we are having 99% gene similarity with the chimpanzee. Why we are not looking like chimpanzee? So the thing is that there is the, like, 100% DNA is not carrying the genetic information. 99% DNA is the junk DNA. Only 1% DNA contains the genetic information. So here also, in this part also, human evolution, the paleontology, here you can understand that human being, they are specifying that the complete 99% gene that we are comparing, not possible that complete gene is including the information about human. So here we can write down that chimpanzee 99% gene matching with human being, explaining the similarities, explaining the similarities with human evolution. Human evolution. So this is what we are having. Now, writing down the second one. Anji, write down along with me. I'm not going to provide you separate time. So write down along with me. Next that we are taking upon is human biological variation. Human biological variation. Human biological variation means what? We just wanted to understand why the modern population, they differ in the physical traits. See, I'm not going to explain it much. Later on with the different when we are going to study about the marriage, family, kinship, then you would be able to understand how there is variation among the human being, and that variation biologically is also, and culture is also creating a difference among them. Fine. So here in terms of example or otherwise, we can just write down differences among cultural traits. Fine. So this is the human biological perspective. Okay. Next, let's write down the third one, ratiology. Ratiology. So ratiology means what? Logy means study. Ratio means race. So when we are trying to study about the race, that is specified as what? The ratiology. Okay. So in the ratiology, we are trying to understand the different races. Like, there was one American Anthropological Association they are saying that race, it is primarily a social construct. Means race is not biological component, it is a kind of a social construct. Means where socially, when you wanted to categorize the people, you are creating race. Now just give me answer for a simple question. Caste is something that is created, or caste is something which is there in the society, and there is a differences among the people. See, could you do one thing? Can you tell my caste? Okay, while just uh, like in front of you, there is only my face, and can you tell me my caste based upon my face? So the answer would be no, not at all. Can you tell my race while just watching my face? The answer would be no. Again, the American Association Congress, they specify that race, it is a social construct, it is not a biological categorization. So in the raciology, we like earlier considering about the different races, and the parameter was set by them. Like let me explain you the basic parameter. So in India, they were saying that there is one Dravidian race. So Dravidian race is for those who are living in the South Indian area, and these people, they are having short height, they are having curly hair, they are having a dark complexion, they are having a black eyes, they are having a like a heavy round nose, they are having thick lips. This is what they specified about the South Indian people. Now talking about the Aryan, like the race which we are saying Indo-Aryan. So the Indo-Aryan, they are tall in the height, they are fairer, they are having a pointed nose. So this type of example, they are talking about the race. Now, in the classical evolutionist, in the classical perspective, we were saying that race exactly is the category, is the difference among the human being. But in the modern anthropology, the modern anthropologists, they are rejecting the notion of the race, and they are saying race is not something which is related to the biology. Race is something which is related to the socio-culture aspect. Okay. So here for the racial part, write down. I am dictating. Write down. In the previous time period, in the previous time period, race in the previous time period, race was considered as race was considered as race was considered as a basis for categorization, a basis for categorization. But the modern anthropology the modern anthropology reject reject the classical notion of of biological race. Now write down, as per as per American Anthropological Association, as per American Anthropological Association, race race is race is primarily race is primarily a social construct. Race is primarily a social construct rather than a biologically a biologically discrete category. Discrete category. Fine. Now, under the ratiology, why I am explaining this, because we may expect the question from here. So here, write down in terms of examples, or you can write down extra info. So here I am going to provide you the name of two anthropologists. Write down first here, French bows. So write down for French bows. French bows criticized, French bows criticized scientific racism, criticized scientific racism, and demonstrated demonstrated influence demonstrated influence on the human physical traits. Next is Ashley Montego. Write down next one. As per Ashley Montego, race is a myth. Race is a myth, and preferred the term ethnic group. And preferred the term ethnic group. Okay, see, in today's time period, there was so many debate related to the usage of the race or racism word. So anthropologists in today's time period, like I hope you are aware of, there were some allegation using the racism in the sports, or using the racism in the TV industries. This among the artificial intelligence, like in the artificial intelligence they are creating the doodle of the person, and they are like, or the avatar of the person, and there are some debate, like deliberately they specified the foreigner or the European as a fairer skin, or the Indian as a dark skin. So there were so many debates. So in today's time period, anthropologists, they are refraining using the name, and using the name kind of race or raciology. Okay, so in today's time period, they are specifically using the term ethnic group, they are not using the term raciology. Okay, now write down the next part, next topic, genetics. Fourth one, write down the next part, genetics. Genetics means what? Genetics means the study of the pattern of inheritance. So you are trying to understand the gene, and that's why you are taking this inheritance pattern. So write down, study of the pattern of inheritance, study of the pattern of inheritance, of various body traits, the study of evolutionary phenomena, the study of evolutionary phenomena with the evolution of inflow or outflow of gene. Means you just wanted to understand why, if I'm taking a gene pool, then when new gene are coming and the old gene are going. See, with the birth new gene are coming, with the death old gene are going. So this is the kind of difference that we are trying to study under the human genetics. Fine. Okay, next study we are trying to understand here, the fifth one, forensic science. Means these are the studies we used to take upon as a part of the biological anthropology. So in the forensic science, we are trying to understand the age pattern. We are trying to understand the pattern related to the human anatomy, like the iris pattern, the fingerprint pattern. So these are the different things we wanted to understand. So write down for forensic science. Write down for forensic science, physical anthropology. Physical anthropology helps in the assessment of age, helps in the assessment of and age and sex determination and sex determination by by utilizing utilizing its knowledge, by utilizing its knowledge in the field of dermatoglyphics. Dermatoglyphics means dermo related to the skin. Glyphics means you are trying to create a pattern. So it involved the fingerprint pattern, it involved the iris pattern. So all these things they are coming under this part. Fine. So that's how we are done with the scope of the physical anthropology. We are done with this part. Now next part we have to write down the relevance for the study of physical anthropology. So create the heading, relevance for the study of physical anthropology. Okay, so the first part that we okay, so you just tell me the relevance why we are studying. See, because we are studying the human genetics, so with the help of that we can understand the human evolution. We can get the insights about the biological variation. We can understand about the different gene genetics. We can study the gene. Based upon the gene study we can create the treatment, the vaccine, the medicines. We can understand the pattern of the disease. Like for example, in today's time period, we like later on in the epidemiological anthropology I am going to provide you the current affair. There I will provide you that in today's time period we are working upon the cancer genomics. Means first we are finding out the people with the cancer, then taking the sample of their oncogene, and then trying to understand that what is the tendency, why it is being developing in one type of people and why not in the others. Fine. So here in terms of relevance, write down first one, understanding the human evolution. Write down understanding the human evolution. Then second, predicting the human development. Second, predicting the human development. Next, countering the racism. Next, countering the racism. Next, contribution to the sports anthropology. contribution to the sports anthropology. Fine. And that's how we are done with the biological anthropology. Now heading towards the next part, and the next part is related to the archaeological anthropology. Next is the archaeological anthropology or Indian archaeology. So archaeological anthropology, it is the branch of the anthropology which is studying about the past societies. So it is very difficult, and this branch is considered as the most difficult one also. And in this part there are so much human observation also. Like human observation is try to understand in this perspective. Like here we are observing the past societies and we are trying to find out the pattern among them. So here in this part we are studying about the past societies. So based upon the past societies, the kind of observation you are having, the kind of observation you are having, these observation, they are based upon, they are based upon the interpretation. They are based upon the interpretation. So that's what you can basically understand. So this is what we are specifying, that archaeology is studying about the past societies where you are observing the interpretation, and these observing interpretation is dependent upon the perspective of anthropologist. Like for example, now you are having this thing in your mind that my culture is supreme one, my culture is the oldest one, and then you are excavating and finding out something, but still you are not going to admit. When you will not admit, you will not record. So your reports, your data, your collection, everything will depend upon what? Everything will depend upon your interpretation. So this is the most difficult one also, and this is the one which is also not completely clearly correct or clearly or accurate. Okay? So for archaeological anthropology, write down, it is the branch of anthropology. It is the branch of anthropology that studies past human cultures, that studies past human cultures, past human cultures and societies, and societies through the recovery, through the recovery and analysis, through the recovery and analysis of of fossil remains, analysis of the fossil remains, analysis of the fossil remains, artifacts and other material evidences. So it involves three things. So we are basically framing a diagram. Fine. So we are basically considering the archaeology. And when we are considering the archaeology, so archaeology, it involves a process. It involves a process. In that process, we are taking upon 3 steps. So here we are basically taking upon 3 steps. First step involved systematic excavation. First is systematic excavation. After the systematic excavation, there is second point where it involves analysis. It involves analysis, and once there is analysis, then it basically specified about the reconstruction of the ancient lifeways. Reconstruction of lifeways. Okay, so these are the 3 things which used to be specified. Here in the systematic excavation, what kind of thing that we are basically taking upon? Okay, in the systematic excavation, we are basically trying to interpret the past life, and that's why we are using some tools technique. So here we involve determining the sites. It's very important, otherwise your cost, your time, all is going to be in the vain. So you should know that this is the perspective space where maybe in the past life people they were living, they were having habitation. So if there are chances that you can find something in the excavation, only then that would be useful to spend your time, your money, to invest your time. Okay, so first determining the site, second using the tool technique. Okay, so when you are excavating, then you should be having the basic details, like what kind of tools you are using. Now let us suppose you are trying to find out any art, architecture, or you are trying to find out any pottery or something. And what if you are using a sharp weapon to just scratch the area? So there are high chances that something you will find out in during the excavation is not going to be in the exact form. You may break that particular vessel, or you may break that pottery. So therefore you should have access to the required tools. Then you will analyze. In terms of analysis, we are basically specifying, determining the age, determining the metal or the product. Next part is reconstruction of the life ways. Reconstruction of the life ways means what? Based upon that, now you are creating a story. Now you are creating, okay, not the story based upon the fiction, but a story based upon your based upon your findings. So creating the theory or the story based upon findings. This is what we are having under the archaeological anthropology. And you done? Okay. Now let's write down the origin and development. Next is the origin and development of the archaeological anthropology. So there is a chronological evolution. Like the evolution for archaeological anthropology means earlier we were having the ancient India, we were having the excavation, but being transformed in terms of archaeological anthropology, the journey it started from the 15th to 16th century, and the journey is continuously going on till now. So starting from 15th to 16th century, 16th to 18th century, mid 18th century, 18th to 19th century, and 19th century onward. Okay. 15th to 16th century, here we are basically specifying about like during this time period, this branch, it was completely scientific, and we were taking it as a scientific discipline only. So scientific discipline where we are trying to study a systematic study, like we are going to have a systematic study of the classical civilization. So let's find let's specify that it was emerged as a scientific discipline. So it was emerged as a scientific discipline, and being a scientific discipline, we are trying to find out the studies in terms of a systematic way. So here it emerges as a systematic discipline where we are having a systematic study, and the study is related to the classical civilization. Uh, because we were not very much sure what kind of civilization we were having, so we are specifying here classical civilization. Classical civilization. Next is related to the 16th and the 18th century. So during that time period, we including the prehistory, the proto-history, the historic human culture. So here we started classifying that now we are studying about the prehistory, now we are studying about the proto-history, now we are studying about the historic human being. So let's write down prehistory, proto-history, and historic time period. Okay. Next is the mid 18th century. So the mid 18th century time period, that was clarifying the aim that why we are studying the previous civilization, the past civilization, because we are having a aim to specify about the human evolution. So here now we started having objective study. Now we started having directed discipline. Next is the between the 18th to 19th century. During this time period, we started focusing upon the prehistory, like prehistory, where we are focusing upon the Europe, Asia, Africa, America, and we started comparing the research methodology and analysis also. So expanded the study and determining technique of study. Next is the 19th century onward. So the 19th century onward, where we started having holistic theory oriented study. So here in the 19th century onward, we started having a holistic study, and that holistic study, it was not isolated. Now if we are determining the age, we are also determining their biological evolution, biological variation. We are also trying to find out the language. We are also very much interested about their socio-culture evolution. So in this part, 19th century onward, we specified that during this time period, we started having coordination with various field. Coordination with various fields. So this is what we are having in terms of the origin and development of the archaeological anthropology. Fine. Okay, now let me here provide you something value addition. Now there was one person, one anthropologist by the name Walter Taylor. E.B. Taylor, you remember, but this is another Taylor, Walter Taylor. So Walter Taylor, he said that there is two type of archaeology. One is the old archaeology, one is the new archaeology. Old archaeology was based upon the artifact, based upon the finding. Whereas new archaeology based upon the interpretation, based upon the theory driven. So this is how anthropology approach is changing. So if there is any question asking about that archaeology is changing in its form, so this is what you can mention. This is what you can define. Okay. So write down the, like, just mention the name. I don't know this color would be visible or not. I think it is visible. Write down. I should write down with this. I will highlight later. Okay. Would be writing with the black only. Walter Taylor. Okay, but you write down with the green color pen only. Okay, so Walter Taylor, he specified two type of archaeology: old archaeology and new archaeology. Okay, in the old archaeology, what we are basically taking upon is, it is in terms of a description, and it is artifact focused. Like you are finding some excavation, you are searching there, you find out some artifacts. So this is basically based upon that. So it was descriptive in nature and it was artifact based. Whereas the new anthropology, the new archaeology, it is theory driven, it is interdisciplinary, and it is analytical. It is analytical in nature. Okay, so take these things. Write down example. Okay, this is example in terms of origin and development. Write down example. Ancient DNA extracted write down ancient DNA extracted from the archaeological site, from the archaeological site of Rakhigadi. Ancient DNA extracted from the archaeological site of Rakhigadi has provided crucial insights into the ancestry of population associated with Indus Valley civilization. Associated with Indus Valley civilization. The study suggests The study suggests complex population interactions, complex population interactions, indigenous population continuity, indigenous population continuity with with South Asian groups, with South Asian groups. Are you done? Okay, now let's understand the scope of the archaeological anthropology. So write down scope of archaeological anthropology. Scope of archaeological anthropology. So in terms of the scope of archaeological anthropology, there are basically five parts. First one, see, in the archaeological anthropology, what is the basic nature? So the nature is this, that your complete study based upon the excavation, and it is basically based upon the interpretation, like as what you had excavated, you are going to interpret on the same interpretation. Okay, fine. So the first part that we used to take up on is prehistoric prehistoric archaeological anthropology. Prehistoric archaeological anthropology. Why it is called as prehistoric? Because during this time period, we used to study about the origin, evolution, diffusion of the culture in terms of a period between the first appearance of the human and the development of the writing. So that's what here in a prehistoric time period we are trying to analyze about the human and their life ways, and where we are taking the past life in picture. We are taking the past life in the picture. Next is the text added. Next is the text added. Okay, so the text added anthropology, it was specified as a classical archaeology. So classical archaeology, where we are developing different art of writing. It utilize written accounts, it utilize the textual description. So here we are reconstructing about the ancient civilizations and the art of writing. So reconstructing, and it is based upon the art of writing. It is based upon the art of writing. Next, specified as the text free. the text-free branch of archaeology specified about the those aspect of the excavation which are basically being used while guiding for the excavation. Like for example, there are some text added specification, like some texts are available based upon the text you are analyzing about the different aspect of the anthropology, whereas text free is like locals are there, they know their area well, you are going to excavate the area, you are not you are not digging based upon the bookish knowledge, you are digging based upon the knowledge of those people, those local people. Like for example, you are digging here, so they are saying no, you can't find out anything here, the based upon the mythological story you should dig at that place. So excavation is like something which is completely blind. So it is based upon what? It is based upon maybe the longitude, latitude, or the information you had from the ancient text. That is text edit. But now you are visiting that area, and the people who are living in the area, they are telling you that this is where you should dig. So that is based upon their local knowledge. That is called as text free. So excavating based upon local knowledge. Based upon local knowledge. Based upon the local knowledge. And the next part is specified as salvage. Salvage archaeology is specified as effort of the part of archaeological anthropology to obtain information and just to know the natural cause or the human activity. So it is specified as natural cause and the basic activities, natural cause and the basic activities, like how the life ends at that period. So based upon all the excavations you are trying to reconstruct the life ways, and then in this branch you try to reconstruct the life ways, like what kind of life they would be having in the previous time period. Okay, and next the last one, ethnoarchaeology, that is the cultural aspect. Ethnoarchaeology. So ethnoarchaeology means the study of the material remains of the society, which means the study of material remains of the society. Of the society. So this is what we are having. Fine. So we are basically done with this part. Now write down the next heading and the last one related to archaeological anthropology. Hanji, write down first relevance. Write down first relevance reveals the origin, reveals the origin and and development of human culture and behavior. So write down reveals the origin and development of human culture and behavior. Next write down socio-cultural insights. Provides socio-cultural insights. Provides socio-cultural insights. Like like belief system, structure, belief system, structure, and economic practices. And economic practices. Next, write down focus on, focus on, focus on climate and ecology, focus on climate and ecology that has helped, that has helped reconstruct, that has helped reconstruct ancient environmental conditions, ancient environmental conditions. Fine. So all these, they are related to the relevance of archaeological anthropology. So we are done with this part also. Now heading toward the last part for this unit. And the last part, see, the last part I'm not going to explain you in the detail, because write down, even you need to be very much clear about it, and you need to write down that the next part is the linguistic anthropology, and this we are going to do along with the unit 7. Here I am only providing you the basic definition or the intro. We are going to do it along with the unit 7, because unit 7 is the culture, language, communication. There we are going to study the all aspect of the language, their combination with the culture, and how it helped us in the communication. So that's what you need to write down. Here I'm only providing you a basic introduction. Okay, so write down for linguistic anthropology. It is the branch of anthropology. It is the branch of anthropology that focuses. It is the branch of the anthropology that focuses is the branch of the anthropology that focuses on the role of language, the role of language in shaping, the role of language in shaping human culture and society, human culture and society. It helped in it helped in it helped in studying, it helped in studying language, it helped in studying language with with written records, with written records, linguistic anthropology, linguistic anthropologist, by exploring, by exploring the spoken languages, by exploring the spoken languages, through creating dictionaries, through creating dictionaries and grammars. through creating dictionaries and grammars. Write down E.B. Taylor. Write down E.B. Taylor was one of the earliest anthropologists was one of the earliest anthropologists to to take interest in language development. Okay, so this is what we are done with this part. There are other various parts also. This is what we would be taking upon with the unit 7. Now there is one extra part I want to specify so that you won't feel that this is something that we are living. This is what we would be doing with the unit 7. There is another part, applied anthropology and action anthropology. See, the real study for sociocultural anthropology will start from the unit 2.1. It will start from the unit 2.1. Here we are just taking introduction. So this part we would be doing with the unit 12. This part again would be doing with the unit 12. And this is related to the physical anthropology. Applied anthro as well as the action anthro would be doing with the unit 12. Okay. So now we are done with this unit 1.3. Now it's time for your answer writing, the live answer writing. So just take a break for 1 minute. Here I am writing the question. You know already how to write the answer. Today, for the very first time, I will be giving very simple question. But kindly try to understand. As soon as you will learn the habit, I'm going to I'm going to provide you the questions of next level. So the today I'm giving easiest question. UPSC is not asking easiest question. Fine. So that's when you know the challenge, then you would be able to prepare for the same. Okay. So take 1 minute break. One more thing. Whenever you have to write answer, it should be written on the UPSC note. Fine. So it should be written on the UPSC note. हाँ जी, start doing. And you all are having the contact details of my official number. So you just need to have the scanned PDF and send it to me. Okay. So I should get the PDF by 12:42. After that, if you will send, I'm not going to provide the feedback because this is the time. Okay. Now start doing. Time is up. Stop writing. As I have told you, you need to submit your copy. You already having my contact details. So you need to send your copy by 12:42 p.m. Okay. And tomorrow we are going to have the next class. I will provide you the link. And like tomorrow we are not going to have the open session. So we are going to have a class through a separate link. So the separate link is for those who basically enrolled for the course. If you wanted to enroll for the course, so you can enroll it. So all the details are available in the description box. You can also fill the Google form and the team is going to connect with you. Okay. So thank you so much for today.